So I am here to teach you how to push that greatness to the surface, how to use one simple tool to find the clarity, to listen to your inner wisdom, and the courage to take action, and the confidence to keep going despite what goes on. Because what I'm about to show you, I'm going to prove it to you, is that you can change anything in 5 seconds. And that fact will change everything about your life. Everything. Now, what I'm about to talk about, this was my secret weapon for a long time. And I never intended on sharing it with anybody because it sounds kind of stupid when you talk about it. Seriously, I don't want you to dismiss the power in the ideas that I'm about to share with you because they're so simple. And what's funny is I never intended on talking about this. I never intended on talking about it because I discovered it by mistake. Seriously, about 8 years ago, my life looked totally different than it does today. I was unemployed. My husband had a small business that was failing miserably, and it took our home equity line and the kids' college savings and our 401k plans right down the drain with it. And we had the liens hitting the house, and we, of course, were fighting like crazy because, when life blows, what do? You point the finger. You say, oh, it's your fault. Oh, it's my boss's fault. Oh, it's the economy's fault. Oh, this isn't fair. And what's interesting about the way that human beings are designed? Have you ever noticed that when you blame somebody else and you point the finger, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you? It's a big reminder that the power is in you. But waking up every morning unemployed, I certainly didn't feel powerful. You know what I needed? I needed confidence. That was tapped out. I needed courage. Nope, didn't have any of that. When the alarm rang, this is what I felt like doing with the clock. Have you ever had one of those mornings? Right? Where you're like, not today. Nope, not today. I do not want to get out of bed today. I would lie in bed, the alarm would go off, and I would start thinking about the day ahead. And I would start feeling overwhelmed, and I would feel this sense of dread, and I would feel like such a failure. I remember this period of our life, and I remember having those moments where I'd be at the grocery store and the items would be scanning, and I would feel the fear rising up because I didn't know if the check card was going to go through, because I didn't have the courage to look at the bank account. And so as I would lie in bed in the morning, and I would know, by the way, my inner wisdom was there, and your inner wisdom is always there. It's always there kind of nudging you, pushing you, begging you to go forward. My inner wisdom was like, Mel, you need to get up. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't feel like it. I developed this habit of hitting the snooze button over and over and over again every morning. I became one of those parents where the kids were always late. And here's the thing about life. We don't do this. We don't ever kind of wake up in the morning and go, you know what I'm going to do today? Today, I'm going to screw up my life. Today, I'm going to hit the snooze button 4 times. I'm going to blow off exercise. I'm going to eat that whole tray of donuts. Then I'm going to go to work and snap at people. I'm going to blow off working at my business. I'm going to come home and be mean to my spouse and impatient with my kids. And I'm going to drink a ton. It's going to be amazing, right? We don't do that. What happens is when you're not paying attention, when you're not really focused on what you want, when you're not clear, you make these small decisions all day long that slowly take you off course. Decisions based in self-doubt, decisions based in fear, decisions based in panic, decisions based in resignation. And suddenly you wake up one morning like I did, and you're like, wait a minute, how did I get over there? And more importantly, how do I get over here? We all know we need to change, but change is hard. It's hard when you don't feel confident. It's hard when you don't feel certain. And that's exactly how I felt. And I struggled. And then one night, it's a really stupid story, I saw this rocket launching. And, we're going to talk about this word, courage. Now, when you hear the word courage, you think about the big stuff, don't you? You think about a life or death moment. You think about your heroes. I want you to consider that courage is what you need every day. That there are conversations you have to have that require courage. For me, I needed courage to get out of bed because our problems just felt so big. So I struggled because I knew what to do, but I couldn't make myself do it. Have you ever felt that way? Like so frustrated with yourself? You knew you need to exercise, but you don't do it. You know you need to drink less, but you don't do it. You know you need to stop procrastinating, but you don't do it. You know you need to have the tough conversations, but you don't do it. You're stuck. That's how I was. And then one night I see this rocket launch and I say, oh my gosh, that's it. That's it. I'm going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship tomorrow morning. It is going to be amazing. I'm going to move so fast that my mind cannot talk me out of this. Now, it could have been the four Manhattans talking, that gave me that idea, because I had a drinking problem. That's one of the things you do. You get emotional, you reach for the booze. Well, for whatever reason, the very next morning I woke up, I still had all the same problems. Liens on the house, talking divorce with my husband of now 20 years, just felt like such a loser. I did not feel like getting up. I will never forget this morning. It was a cold, dark winter morning in February outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And I just did not feel like doing anything different, but I did one thing that changed everything. I started counting backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then all of a sudden I stood up and I was like, what the hell just happened? And the next morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I did it again and it worked. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I did it again and it worked. And I couldn't believe it. And now that I'm almost 50, I still use it at 2:30 in the morning when I wake up and I have to go to the bathroom. And, like instead of trying to go back to bed, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here's what I noticed. I noticed something that when I say this to you, you're going to be like, oh my God, she's right. There is a 5-second window between the moment that your inner wisdom tells you you need to speak up, you need to get to the gym, you need to say something, you need to get to work, and your mind killing it. And if you start counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can close the gap between the greatness in you that's dying to come to the surface and the excuses that keep snuffing it down. Now, I never intended to tell anybody about this, because I started to use this to get up on time. I started to use it to self-monitor so I didn't snap at Chris, so I stopped drinking so much. I started to use it to go on job interviews, and it literally changed everything because I started to change. I stopped being the kind of person that would think about everything, and I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 became the kind of person that started acting. And every time I took action, I started to build confidence. I don't care how low you get, I don't care how high you get. Your inner wisdom is always there. And when you hear it, it is magic. When you listen to it, it changes everything. I'm going to tell you some of the science behind this. I'm going to explain how you can use it, and then I'm going to show you how 5-second decisions change everything. So we all hear this, just do it, right? Most famous tagline in the world. What's the difference between just do it and the 5-second rule? This is a concept. Concepts make you go upstairs. I don't want you upstairs. This is behind enemy lines. You're not going to grow your business, grow yourself by thinking. You got to take action. Right before you're about to do anything, even if you're an Olympic athlete, what do? You stop and you think. And that's the kiss of death. Now stop and think if you're going to get a tattoo or sign a contract. But on the little stuff, do not stop and think. Because what happens when your feelings of failure kick in, and they will, you start to think. And that leads you to doubting yourself, doesn't it? And the same thing happens when you feel nervous. Same thing happens when you feel unsure. The same thing happens when you feel like you're a fake. The same thing happens when you feel overwhelmed. Look at all these feelings. They're triggering you to think. That's the last thing you should do. This is what we call a habit loop. Any pattern that you repeat becomes a habit, something you do without even thinking. So how do you break it? You train yourself to take action. You train yourself that the moment you feel nervous, you move. Why? Because when you take action, you actually build confidence. When you feel unsure and you move forward anyway, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you are building the skill of confidence. You are bringing that greatness to the surface. Now look, self-doubt's normal. Feeling overwhelmed is normal. The people we admire the most felt the same way. You ever heard the story of Michelangelo? So in the early 1500s, he had never painted a thing. The Pope goes over to see him in his studio as he's carving a statue, and the Pope Julius II turns to Michelangelo and says, hey, Michelangelo, I got some frescoes I want you to paint in Vatican City. You know what Michelangelo felt? Totally unsure. Do you know what he did? He left town. He hid from the Pope for 2 years. That's how unsure he was. You know what the Pope did? He stalked him for 2 years, pushed him until he actually painted those frescoes.